Hello and welcome, Inspired Podcast community. This is your new episode. My name is Caroline, and my today's guest is Rich Kozak. And I'm so happy that you are here. You won't believe. Thank you for saying yes. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm blessed and I'm glad that I said yes. You and I got some really good material to share with the listeners. So stay tuned. This is going to be a good one.
Oh, thank you so much. And of course, I would love to introduce you to the audience. You are a global branding executive. You shape brands for diverse industries. With over 40 years of experience, you empower businesses to build strong platforms for success. Your forthcoming book, and we are going to talk about that, on impact-driven branding reflects your dedication to making a real difference. Certified trainer, master coach, and co-author of best-selling books. Welcome to the Inspired Podcast, Rich Kozak. Oh my
Uh,
goodness.
I feel very welcome. So thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. I have a first question for you. Let me see. With over 40 years in global branding, how have you seen the role of branding evolve? And what are the biggest changes you've witnessed in recent years?
That's a great question, and it's a couple questions. So first of all, let's clarify what the 40 years look like, and I'll do that in two sentences. About 20 years of that was running a globally connected agency. We had partners in 21 countries. I was sat on global brand teams. Typically, it was all business to business. So semiconductor manufacturers, software companies, materials companies. Largest client, $14 billion public company. Smallest client, probably $300 million software company. Then I turned 50. I was addicted to my job. I mean, I would come home late, wake up my kids, say prayers, put them back to bed, email my European partners, and then get 4 hours or 3 hours of sleep and wake up, the next morning and do it again. A lot of coffee, a lot of chocolate. When I turned 50, I changed my prayer. I said, Lord, I'm resigning this addictive career to reshape my life. Show me what you want me to do. I'm ready. I figured I was headed for a heart attack. And I knew I wasn't here to do that work. I was here for a reason, and I really wasn't paying attention. So I resigned. And it didn't take long until individuals started asking me to help them with their individual brands because they knew I'd done this for years. And I'm a networker, so I'm in all these different networks, and I would sit down with anyone and talk to them about their business. And people started asking me, and I said, I don't do that anymore. And they said, well, that's not true. You just don't charge for it. Yeah. So three of them asked me to help them, and I did. And I started to realize that with individuals, they have in their heart the desire to make impacts on those whose lives they touch, or on an industry, or on a company. They have this desire and this vision. They can see it in advance, the impacts that they can make through their work, their business, their gift. And when we help them pull from their heart those visions of what the impacts they clearly see making on the specific types of people or businesses that they specifically know they want to impact, we just define the brand they must become to make those impacts. And everything their brand says and does aligns with those impacts. The clarity is deep, and from then on, they're a magnet. People don't realize that branding is a process. So, to your question, branding has always been a process, but it's often talked about by marketing services sellers as if they know what branding is, and they do not. They just know they sell stuff. Okay, so they'll say, oh, this would be good for your branding. But if they had to do branding, they would be hard pressed because they are not trained in it. They don't know it, and they just sell what they sell. So what I see is the process is the process. The things that have changed are the things that always change. Types of media platforms, but the marketing decision is always the same. Which media platforms will reach my target audience? The steps have not changed. It's just there's so much noise at the individual level, because I'm talking to individuals. If you're listening to this, you're an individual, and I'm talking to you about you and your brand, the perception you create, the vision you have of the impacts you want to make. I'm talking to you as an individual. At the individual level, there is so much noise from all of these sellers that you think branding is whatever you think it is, but really it's so misunderstood. But it can be understood if you get 1 minute of clarity. And if you ask me, I will give you that minute. So the things that have changed are the things that always change. The media, the players, technologies, speed, you know, but the process doesn't change. The process of branding, the process of marketing, the steps are the same, the decisions are the same. People are intimidated or afraid or put off or skeptical or whatever they are until they realize there's a place that they can get straight talk and understand that there are steps that ensure your brand impacts people's lives and the world. And that's why I'm writing the book.
This is impressive. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm speechless now, but of course, I have another question. And I understood it better what you mean by how it is misunderstood. The branding in itself, I always refer to Nike. You call it Nike. It's a brand,
Well,
and
yeah.
everyone knows, everyone recognizes the without the name, the logo. It's a branding and it's a process. You are so right. It's not overnight, but it's perceived overnight because it's, you work 3 years, 4 years, and then it happens overnight. Then this,
Well, Nike spent millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars so that the world is familiar with that recognizable mark, you know? So you can't do that as an individual. So, uh, Nike helps us understand, but there are four things that make a brand come alive. And the fourth is positive, ongoing recognizability. And that's what Nike has done an excellent job at creating. Positive. No, people see the swoosh and they feel good about it because of their advertising and public relations has made you feel good about it. You know, but that's only one of the four things. And for you as an individual, you can get that when you create a look for your brand, but it's not about the look. It's not about the line. It's not about the tricky phrase or the superhero costume that someone tries to trick you into wearing and telling you that that's your brand. It's about four things that make a brand come alive. You don't have those, your brand will fall flat. It will not be consistent. It won't be trusted, and you'll be frustrated. And you think that it's the marketing that's not working. Wrong. Okay, so ask me, what is a brand, so that I can set every one of these listeners straight, and they'll have deep clarity moving forward about how to think about what their brand really is.
okay, so I should ask you, what is a brand?
Ooh, thank you for asking me. Hey, listen tight. Actually, get a pen and write this down. And I'm not kidding. Your brand is a perception,
Mhm.
period. Write that down.
I wrote it already because you.
But,
Mhm.
but it's not your perception. Write that down. It's not my perception. Well, whose perception is it? It's the perception in the mind of those people, those target audiences, those industries, those individuals whom you most want to impact through your work or your business or your gift, your calling, however you think about it. It's their perception that is your brand. You can talk all day long about your brand. It doesn't matter what you say.
Yes.
It's the perception in the minds of those whom you most want to impact that is your brand. And so branding is all of those things that we get to do. And none of us have the money or the time to do them all. There's so many choices. You've got to be selective and strategic. Branding is those things we do to shape a consistent perception in the minds of those whom we most want to impact in a way that moves us in a strategic direction and takes us where we see we can go with what we are doing. So it's perception shaping, but it's not everybody. You're not branding to the world. You focus on those whom you clearly see impacting. When you're thriving, everything's working. You picture that, and that's those you define in language the brand for. So you and I had a conversation beforehand. I'm going to add this note so that if you want to pick it up and talk about it, you can. In the process of applying the steps to help individuals ensure their brand comes alive and impacts those they clearly and want to impact, in that process, it becomes clear that their business, their work, like we said, their calling, whatever their gift, their business is not necessarily why they're here.
Mhm. Yeah.
It is a vehicle for them to create impact, to create abundance, but it might not be why they're here. And in this process, we focus on, we get people to literally open their heart and get clarity about their purpose. That getting clarity about your purpose is one of those important things in our every one of our lives. We're made by the same God. We're all here for a reason, but it's one of those things that people either avoid or interrupt. And by interrupting it with other things that come up or other priorities, and not really thinking about it, not really focusing on it, you actually can end up damaging the entire quality and significance of your life. So we might want to talk about the importance of focusing on your purpose
Oh,
and
I love what you said. It's so important to know your purpose, and it's worth looking for it or searching for it, asking for it if you don't know it yet. Please do reach out to Rich or to me. I can help you on that. It's one of my, purpose and clarity. It's so important.
absolutely.
So I have another question, of course. Your upcoming book focuses on impact driven branding. Can you share some key principles or insights from the book that you believe are crucial for businesses looking to make a meaningful difference through their brand?
Oh, absolutely. It's about what's in your heart. Um, it's about what's in your heart. We know that when we speak from our heart, life feels much sweeter than when we speak from our head and make it up. Um, and so, literally, the beginning of impact can happen with your eyes closed. So, the first concept is those first two steps of the seven steps literally can happen with your eyes closed. And it might be outside of the scope of the podcast to go into the detail, but if you email me, just rich at richbrands with an s.org and say blueprint, I will send you an 8-page document overview naming the seven steps and one page on each of the steps with me and my voice speaking to you about what you can do. When you look at that, you'll realize steps 1 and 2 can be with your eyes closed. And the first thing is asking yourself, when everything is working, You come up, you write a book and people read it and they say it changed their life. You do a podcast and people resonate with it and share it with others. You create a program and people come in and say it. They say it's, with absolutely effect. Whatever you do works. Picture that. What is what you want to do or know you can do? What does it look like when it's absolutely thriving and everything is working? And the question is, what are you doing? Now, you only want to be doing what brings you joy. You don't want to be doing something that you hate or detest or don't think you'd be good at. That's not fun and probably not why you're here. But if you love to speak, maybe you'll be speaking. If you love to write, maybe you'll be writing. If you love to share with others and create aha moments, maybe you'll be coaching. It's like, what are you doing when your brand is thriving? You can use your creative imagination to picture it with your eyes closed. And it leads to the second step of whom, and you ask your heart, whom do you clearly see impacting?
Mhm.
And whom do you really want to impact? You clearly see it, but you really want to. Is it a single mom who's in her 40s and has a special needs child? Is it a couple before retirement? Is it someone who's choosing their career? Someone who's in the middle of their life and is struggling achieving goals and they happen to have been sexually abused as a child and never got over it? Like, who are those individuals? And you don't have to just pick one. You can pick there's no rule. You can pick, several, but your heart is what picks them. You have to ask your heart. If you ask your head, you'll come up with this big old list and you've avoided the process. You ask your heart, give me one, give me another one, give me another one that you clearly see impacting. Those are the ones you use to define and language your brand. And by doing that, it's totally congruent with your heart. The language is you. Your brand, which you thought was a contrivance, is actually the most comfortable pair of shoes you'll ever wear because it's absolutely 100% congruent with your own authenticity. You literally are handed shoes of authenticity that you get to wear. It's like, what? That's not branding. Branding is like coming up with, a superhero costume that you have to be something you're not. Wrong-o.
Oh, I understand. It's not only Nike, it's tailor-made shoes from your
Mhm.
own substance or stuff, let's say from your
Yeah,
heart,
exactly.
subconscious or
Well,
universal
let's
mind.
say it can be. I mean, I did big boy branding and agency for years. So if another $14 billion company asked me to come in and assess their brand architecture, what they're after in their branding is market share, strategic positioning, joint venturing, setting themselves up to purchase other companies. It's like, it's about money at that money and influence and power and market share. I get it. With individuals, those whom I work with today, it starts with impact. We literally get to redefine, reframe, if you want to say, the purpose of our business as impact. And when you reframe the purpose of your business as impact instead of, money, you'll get to the impact even faster and you'll get to the money faster.
Mhm,
People don't even, it seems counterintuitive. It's not.
mhm,
So it's those individuals that I focus on now. Now, I have clients who are, employees of large, like global organizations, and they head up diversity, equity, inclusion, or somebody who owns a manufacturing company that manufactures uniforms that change the nature of safety in the world for people who work in dark places. And, so people who have companies or serve companies. But I also have a lot of solopreneurs, coaches, experts, people who haven't written their signature book yet or haven't written their legacy book yet because it's going to hand off what they do or what they know and their signature speeches. And those people, those people get this and it serves them so well. It helps them turn, in some cases, a life of impacts they've already been making into a story of legacy. So that's why I have a publishing company, because we publish people's books. And yeah, and right now, I mean, I'm working on 4 books right now with different clients, and I have 4 new clients that are in brand accelerator mastery, and they're defining books that they know they want to write right now as part of their brand's strategic roadmap. A book is like a stake in the ground that a brand establishes the direction for the brand and gets it credit that it must get credit for to move in that strategic direction. So it's not just a book. Sorry. Hopefully I didn't burst your bubble. For your
No,
people out there that go like, are going like, I want a book, but don't do that.
no, it's brilliant. It's not just a book. It's a process when you write a book. I did this twice already. I think I will do a third time as well. Or when you start, then you can never stop. Of course, when you taste it once. So thank you so much for sharing. And yeah, please reach out to Rich. And we heard about this, the blueprint and the email address. We will put it in the show notes. But I have
Oh,
another
thank you. Very
question.
good. Very good.
Course. As a certified trainer and master coach, how do you approach mentoring and coaching clients to help them build strong, successful brands? What common challenges do they face?
Blind spots.
Mhm.
We all have them. Um, they don't see themselves. Often they discount themselves, even when they're brilliant, and have had a track record of success. Um, and they struggle with language. And I mean, they're usually the people who find me are often articulate. They're coaches, and sometimes they're already authors where they're ready to be an author, but they are coaches and they're experts, and so in their area of expertise they're extremely uh, skillful verbally, but creating a language that gives them credit for what makes them outstanding, they don't see themselves as good at that. I'm going to give you 2 examples, and the end story is it each of these people overcome that so quickly, and often it's by helping someone else do what they say they're not good at. Okay, that's the surprise. I do individual one-on-one coaching, but I do group coaching as well. We run a 3-month event that has 7 days of activity, full days over a 3-month period. It's called Brand Accelerator Mastery. So there are several people in there, and when it comes time to write titles and subtitles of content to get them credit for one of their categories of expertise, the first thought is, I'm not good at this. So we do it with each other. We have someone read their target audience and the impacts they clearly see making. And then people suggest things. We have a process that makes it flow easily, what comes to mind, and then write a title and then make sure there's a hook. And they do it really well for somebody else. And then they realize, oh, maybe I am good at this. So the probably the most recent example that comes to mind of someone who is extremely talented, someone who had worked more than a decade for one of the largest consulting firms on the planet, and had helped, and then had his own consultancy and helped launch companies and then sell them for hundreds of millions of dollars. Very successful, fires on a lot of cylinders. Ended up feeling like he wanted to get back into it and decided to get a coaching certification. Well, now this person has so much pedigree and so much experience, but then they're almost like they're starting again. And he sent me the things I had him write about himself and tell me about this parts of your life and so forth. And as I'm sharing, we had been together a couple of weeks, I guess, in meetings over a couple of week periods that hadn't been very long. But I shared possible book titles, book one, book two, book three, that had to do with his umbrella, not what he's really good at, not, consultant, but what, if you look at all the aspects of his life and who he is and how his heart developed and what happened to him as a child and how he was mentored all the way along and now he's back wanting to mentor others, it makes tremendous sense. But he didn't see the umbrella. That's one of the things that we do. It's like, what's the umbrella? It's like you can say, well, I'm a doctor that specializes in stress reduction, but that's a pigeonhole. Why are you here? What's the biggest impact that you can make on those whose lives you touch in this life? Why are you here? What is the highest level purpose? And so I shared those with him and explained to him that I see these dots connecting what happened in his youth and how how he spoke about one of the people that really mentored him and the things he wrote and sent to me. And I said, do you see these dots connecting? And I got silence on the other end of it was on a phone call. Normally I'm on Zoom, but it was a phone call. And then I heard, I do now. And here's a guy that worked for a consulting firm. They see all the dots, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yet he's as an individual, blind spot. So when it comes to lifting up who we are, many of us have been taught. I was raised by a woman from the South. We don't brag now. It's not polite to brag, right? It's like, it's not a good thing to talk about yourself. It's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, look, I had a $14 billion public company that was whining about not getting credit for their 380 some world-class experts. And I had to explain to them, in order to get credit, you have to take credit. So people don't naturally write language that gets them credit for what they're outstanding at. Many struggle at it. And the missing piece is clarity. It's clarity not only about how to say what makes them outstanding, they sometimes don't see it. They take it for granted. I did that and I did this, but they don't see that this is a skill set that makes them very valuable and unique. They really don't see the umbrella that goes over everything they are and literally puts it together, gets them credit for their expertise, credit for their successes, but literally paints a picture of the impact they will be making. And that gives the brand legs and a strategic direction. And that's what I get to do all day long. I was like, people don't see it. And the clarity is missing. And sometimes it's missing really early in the game, but that's defining the umbrella brand for an individual that sets the tone for the next several decades of their life is um, well, it's certainly clarifying and it's life changing. And they'll touch so many people. I get to impact individuals who impact millions. And so, and I, I didn't get a chance to play the video for you, but I believe God put the desire for impacts into us that's congruent with why we're here. And we have somebody who's ready to make those impacts or ready to make higher level impacts, helping them using this process is God's work. I used to think it was my skill. I get it. It's a gift and it's not even my work. So my wish for you is that you feel like what you do is love. I get to have that feeling. my work doesn't feel like work. It feels like love. And that is the ultimate in life. I believe when we connect with why we're here, what a blessing it is, not only to us, but to those whose lives we touch, those in with whom we have relationships, and anyone whose life we get to serve, even on a one-off basis. Certainly our clients, right?
Yes, our clients, the people that are brought to us, like we are here together in this podcast interview. Thank you so much. I want to add desire. It's Greek. It means it's from God, and you receive your desire from God. It is given. So it's not, and we have also this Bible verse, your will be done. Is it this, or thy will be done, something like that? It is
Mhm.
not our will, it is God's will, and we have to fulfill it. Thank you so much. You want to say something? I
Well,
think.
on that, in response to that, I would say we also don't forget, we also get to ask for his will. I read the same book every morning, different parts of it, but always part of the prayer is, help your will land on my heart. It's like, this is not our life. We're put here. We have a purpose. Asking for it is helpful. It'll Your clarity will come faster when you're asking for it. So thank you for mentioning that Bible verse.
Yes, thank you. And I understand, because it's not like we receive all the time. Of course we receive, but we have to do our part, right? And I always tell my clients, like, when you walk by faith, and then you take one step, one leap, and universe, or God, God comes to you with 9 steps to you, and bring it to you, or reveals what is your next step. But you have to make the first step. So thank you so much. You did the first step, and me too, to meet today, and I'm so blessed. Yeah. Regarding the time, I want to know. I have one last question, okay?
Okay.
Because I think we didn't talk about your coaches and mentors, and I would like to know who was the best coach you ever had.
Oh, thank you. I've had many, many who mentored me and filled me with vision and process and hope and encouragement. My parents were so empowering. Everything I think I want to do that. They would encourage it, not dismiss it. Oh, really? Another thing, they would encourage, well, can we take you to the rehearsal? It's like, oh, you want to play violin? Great. I'm going to play tennis team? Great. Oh, you want to direct the school plays? Yes, great. You want to take advanced placements? Yeah. It's like, I mean, my parents were really empowering, and they were both teachers. Okay. My mom taught music and English, and my dad taught math and music and statistics. All three were teachers, a lot of degrees in there, and just wonderful. Both, as I went through our family home after dad had passed away, and we moved mom to a care home, I found their Bibles, and their Bibles were filled with underlined notes in the margin, articles asking questions about faith and getting clarity and asking God for God's will in their life. So that's part of my heritage. It's part of my legacy. And I've slid those Bibles across the table to my sons and pointed that out, that this is their legacy as soon as they take it. So we get to honor that. We get to honor our legacy. So parents, um, when I changed from being in a rock band to being in a Fortune 50 company, my first boss was like he was paternalistic and treated me as if I were his favorite son and taught me a lot. He was a he ran the entire international division of this Fortune 50 company for 12 years. And he knew a lot about how companies work. And he was a blessing to my life. When I started running the agency, the owner of the agency was a dear friend of mine and made it clear to me the processes and how to help clients and how to train them. He was extremely helpful. And then after I resigned my career, there was a whole new raft of mentors in the self-development space. I worked with Lisa Nichols in her Motivating the Teen Spirit workshops for 3.5 years. She served to move me forward in some very special ways. I attended a lot of Harv Ecker's Peak Potentials events and even served there. Um, and some of the people that he introduced us to, like Richard Green, who helps people speak so they change nations, were special mentoring moments that shaped me. So, and I'm not done. We're made to be mentors, but we're also made to be mentored, and we don't stop. I learn every day. I learn from my clients, like we learn from our children. And I choose to be the best mentor that I can, particularly in the area of defining and languaging umbrella brands to move a person's life to a much higher level of impacts and have them achieve their most significant reason that they're here, and get their books and their speeches out and create them in a way that makes them come alive and be magnetic instead of fall flat. So a lot of mentors, a lot of coaches. Um, I've been, I've had a lot of wonderful lessons imbued in me by an unending flow of coaches and mentors. So I'm blessed in that way. And look, I've been married for 47 years and 52 Valentine's days. My wife is one of my absolute best mentors. Praise God. Life is not meant to be lived alone. It's a team sport, and she's definitely one of the best team members I could ever have. So
Thank you so much. I could talk for hours, and I would love to watch the recording because there were so many nuggets in it. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being in the Inspired podcast, saying yes, and have a wonderful day.
thanks for having me.
See you in the next episode.